Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. We got a good one today. We got our buddy Chris Simms from NBC Sports Football Night in America, Sunday Night Football, all of the above. He's our NBC brethren. Of course, he was actually a coach with the Patriots. Very briefly, he knows his quarterbacks, and he did a ranking, as he does annually, of all the quarterbacks in the league. This year, he did it a little bit differently. He's often done it 1 to 40 or 40 to 1 as he unveils them. This year, he did it in tiers. Where does Drake Maye wind up? What has Drake Maye done to impress Chris? Where does he still need work? Is he a riser? And how high will he rise? Let's bring in Chris Simms right now. What's up, my friend?
Hey, buddy. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm awesome. Thank you so much.
With you, talking a little football. Well, Patriot fans, I don't know if they always think I don't know if they think I like them or not, or like the Patriots, but man, I like the Patriots. I like Boston. I gotta live there my whole life, but I know I've had a few arguments with the Patriots fans over the years, so I'm never sure how they receive me.
Chris, so have I, and I've lived here my whole friggin' life.
Yeah.
They oftentimes, and it's not all of them, it's just I think that most Patriots fans are pretty level-headed, and they can look at black and white and shades of gray and understand it. And then there's segments which either believe that there are axes to grind or missions trying to be accomplished that are contrary to what they're rooting for, or because it's a very media savvy area, they wonder exactly what the end game is for us.
Yeah.
And it's not clicks. It's not friggin' clicks.
Right.
Clicks are long gone and hard to find in the level of relevance in 2025 media. People don't give a shit about clicks.
No.
They care about over volume. So first things first, buddy.
Yeah.
Before we get to Drake, why did you change to tiers?
Just to change it up a little bit, right? I mean, this is something that I've been doing now for, 8 years, 9 years. I feel like me doing the quarterback ranking thing is what is kind of been the jump off spot to everybody ranks quarterbacks now, right?
That's your brand.
It is a little bit of my brand, right? I got known for that back in, I think that was 2017 when I made the comment about Blake Bortles. I said he was like the 70th best quarterback in football, and that's where it kind of came from, right? And so I had fun with that, was on Dan Le Batard, so I became that guy. And this year just thought like, man, let's change it up a little bit. Let's not maybe make it so nitpicky about like, ooh, I get roasted or have to explain this guy's 23, this guy's 24, right? We just made it a little bit more broader conversation. Tried to change it up a little bit that way, something new, something fresh. See if it sticks a little bit. And yeah, maybe I think my bosses were going like, let's take a little pressure off of Chris. And so he doesn't have to defend one spot all the time or whatever else. I still made a list. It's still right here. But, yeah, we did it a little different way this year.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, as folks click on this, and you can find it simply on Google NBC Sports, and then Chris Simms quarterback rankings. There's a million right here. I'm looking at a large portion of it right now because it's still coming out, right? Still being released.
Yeah, we just got done with 15 through 11, basically that range of group of guys, right? So now I will do a full official ranking of the top 10.
1 through 10,
and you'll hear the 1 through 10, and that'll start next week in a two-part pod where we'll do 6 through 10 in one pod, and then 1 through 5 in the other one.
Is that the unbuttoned?
That is Chris Simms Unbuttoned. That is the pod. Yep, that's right.
That's the one to find it on. I should have announced that stuff at the top. But here's the thing: is like you got Tua here, and Trevor Lawrence in an area of is this it? Also with our guy Dak Prescott.
Right.
All those guys are ahead of Drake Maye, and that's the interesting thing because you could certainly look at Drake Maye and say, I think he's better than Tua, but he hasn't peed a drop, as you guys used to say in Foxborough.
Yeah.
So you can't put him up there, but it would be contentious.
No, but I would tell you that there was thought of it. There was.
Right.
I mean, I went back. This is one of the tougher areas of my whole exercise usually is when you get like 15 through 22, right? That general like little part there is very hard. It's nitpicky. It's usually quarterbacks where you're like, wait, you know what this guy is. I don't think there's any more to tap into. And then it's this range of, wait, there are some young guys here with a lot of potential. And I don't know, like you said, we haven't seen the proof in the pudding yet, but my football intuition, my instincts, my guts, everything about that wants to say in year 2, Drake Maye is going to pass some of those people up. Michael Penix as well. But I just feel like I'd like to see a hair more from both of those guys, right? Just before I do that. I put Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and, of course, Josh McDaniels in front of that group, but they have a few more, notches on the belt as far as playing the whole year. I got to evaluate more of it. I liked what I saw from Drake Maye, certainly. And, yes, I went back and forth because I think he'll be better. But go ahead. Yeah.
Let me roll through some of these rankings that people are going to find interesting, and I'll get right into Drake. As he goes through the pedestrian also ranked quarterbacks and shows some great respect in doing so. But the interesting ones to us who are looking at a young quarterback here in New England, young mysteries, Bryce Young, J.J. McCarthy. I love J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. Skip down to more of the young quarterbacks. Ready rookie. He loves Cam Ward. Loved him going into the draft.
Right.
Clock's ticking. That's Russ Wilson. The sand is almost out of the hourglass. And then we get to needs more info. Very fair.
Yeah.
Michael Penix and Drake Maye. And then just to fast forward real quick, in the ready to launch, you see Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. They're about your 12 and 11 type guys. So Drake's like 18, whatever. What do you like about him? What made you realize that, you know what? This kid's better than I initially thought.
Yeah.
And who gets credit for this improvement that we saw from April to November?
Right. I mean, he does, first off. I think the things that worried me about the draft, right, coming out, and I think you know this, enough people in the NFL, the Patriots, you watch football and all that, very inconsistent coming out of college, right? All over the place with mechanics, throws, everything, ball everywhere. So in years past, when I see mechanical issues and things like that, right? There was like, man, I don't know if those can be fixed. Now, they're more easily fixed this day and age because there's more quarterback coaches and things out there to get into the ear and teach some of these quarterbacks. And maybe 15 years ago, when I would see mechanical flaws with a quarterback, I'd be like, no way. He'll never fix it. Nobody in the NFL will be able to fix it. Not going to happen. Drake Maye obviously went to work in that department. Now, what do I like about him? It all starts with always one thing, usually with me. Does he have the physical ability to be great and special, right? And that's the first thing I see. When you talk about the great quarterbacks of all time, right, they have great physical attributes. There's not like some mythical, he wills the team or does this, right? Mm-hmm. No matter who it is, Elway, Brady, Favre, Marino, there is something special physically about their physical tools. Drake Maye.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Because I love quarterback conversations.
Yeah, right.
What would you attribute the physical skill of Brady and Montana, two guys who were often put in the same boat? Premier fundamentals.
Yes, because they're looked at these like systematical surgeons, right? So I understand the conversation, but Brady's arm is an all-time arm. Okay, It might not be Marino or Elway or Favre, okay, the greatest arms we've ever seen in the sport, but it's the next notch down. I don't know if people really realize how strong and great Tom Brady's arm was. It's an amazing arm. I mean,
he threw the ball 70 yards in the 2007 Super Bowl after he got drilled by Jay Alford, and he put it on Randy Moss's hands.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So Brady had, first off, size is a skill. That gets overlooked at quarterback. Brady's ability to stand in the pocket, people around him, grabbing him, whatever. I can throw over him. I'm big. Even if you grab me, I can still throw it with accuracy. That's a skill. We know his ability to execute the offense and all that. But yes, Tom Brady's arm, laser beams, can throw the ball through the Foxborough wind. It never mattered. We never went into a game and went, I don't know if Tom can throw the ball today because it's cold and windy, right? Which we do say about Tua, which is what I laugh about when like people in Miami try to go, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. I want to go, what? Back it up. Every big game, the biggest question about your team is Tua. You can't be the best
what's the
quarterback
weather?
in football or the best guy on your team, and you're the biggest question about your team. And that's bad contract, bad team building by Miami. But Joe Montana would be the one outlier to what you're saying, though. Maybe not the great physical gifts, but had other intangibles as far as reading defenses, incredible rhythm, anticipation. He's a better
But those are
athlete.
skills too. I was only asking it.
Too. They are.
I was
But he's
only
one of
asking
the
it
lesser
because
talented guys that you would talk about.
But it's interesting. The only reason I broached it is I'm sure that we'll have listeners who go, "Well, Brady wasn't a great physical."
No, I think
fundamentals.
I'm glad you said it.
Fundamentals in your lower half is an athletic move. It is a physical skill.
It is
to master the fundamentals so that you're not stepping in the bucket. You're not throwing from 37 different arm slots. That's a friggin' skill.
100%.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, you're exactly
But Drake
right
Maye has that next level type skill that you need with that arm.
Exactly right. You saw all the explosive plays he made last year. Now, hey, listen, the training wheels were still on to a degree. The offense was basic. They managed him a little bit. But the athletic ability, like, first off, there's no denying that. And the ability to run, take off, and not just get 5 yards, get 20, 30 yards. He's got that type of running ability. He does play big in the pocket. His arm and some of the mechanical issues I worried about, he fixed them. He didn't fix all of it, but it certainly was a good start that made me feel a lot better. And then, yes, his ability to make big game-changing throws popped off the screen all year last year. That was one of the best things he did. Now it's just the next step we got to take in his development, and that's why I'm saying, like, there was a lot I liked, but I just like to see a little bit more before I have him jump people like Tua or Dak Prescott, who I've seen do it at a decently high level for a pretty long time here.
In taking that next step, I would imagine that you have some optimism that he can do that, given the diligence that he had to show in 2024 to get to where he got.
Exactly.
Coming in as kind of a blank slate in a very chaotic season.
Right. All those things make me believe that he can continue this upward trajectory. And then I think when you couple that with the gifts from the football gods of, oh my gosh, Mike Vrabel's going to be my head coach and Josh McDaniels is going to be my OC. Those are the things that are going to like iron out his game, get some of those issues more polished, whatever. Because there is still some inconsistencies like I talked about with his mechanics. He still has to learn how to move within the pocket. There's a lot of unnecessary movement at times where you're like, wait,
yes,
the pocket's fine. Why are you running? Or why are you actually moving up in the pocket to get sacked instead of just like stay where you are, right? Or drifting, exactly right. So I know you've seen some of these things, and I'm sure you've heard some of that from coaches and things he's got to figure out. Sometimes lets his feet get all out of whack a little bit when you're like, wait, there's no reason. Just hang in there. Get your feet in the right spot. Get your, like you talked about with Brady, be in a good position to throw the football. So it's just stuff like that. Having a little bit better of a plan when you get pressure or get a blitz, right? Part of being a quarterback is, wait, I know the defense, I know the play, but what if they throw some crazy play at me? I got to have a fail-safe plan to go, hey, if I get caught by surprise, I can always go here with the ball just to get us out of a bad situation. Those are the things that we're looking for Drake Maye to take it to the next level for 2025.
Drake Maye is prone to interceptions. And Drake Maye, when you look at his body of work, both at North Carolina down the stretch and then last year at New England, he doesn't have enough times where his team leaves the field with more points than the opponent. Is that a concern? Because when you look at whether it's Montana or Brady or Manning or J.J. McCarthy or on and on, Michael Penix.
Yeah.
These guys leave the field where their team has more points than the opponent. I don't care about all the different qualifiers we could add to it.
Right. I hear you.
It's not irrelevant.
No.
How big a deal should it be?
It's a good conversation. There's a lot of context to that, right? And again, I think what you're talking about and is one of the reasons I had him as the 6th rated quarterback, and not to mention one of the best quarterback classes we've ever seen, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, it wasn't easy to rank last year's group. There's no doubt about that. But yes, there was lots of plays and yards left on the field back at North Carolina. But I'm not one. There's a lot of other circumstances that lead to that. Not great coaching, not a great offense, right? The lack of maybe talent and all of that. Brady, I mean, by all due accounts, he couldn't even be a starter his last year at Michigan. I mean, he had a split time with Drew Henson, right? I'm playing the advocate of all that. Oh, Mahomes was 4-7 his last year. He's just not a winner. He's not a winner. No, he is a winner. It's just when you're around a bunch of other guys that aren't winners and not that good, it's hard to drag 52 other guys and just go, hey, guys, we're winners now, right? Elway was 4-7 or 3-7 at Stanford. You got to have a little support system and help there. So I try to take all that into consideration. But there are things that I think are tangible too with, yes, like I said, the mechanics, the unnecessary move in the pocket. There's still too many slam dunk throws where I go, that's off target. You're too good to miss the ball or miss the target like that. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not as bad as it was in college. It got better, and that's what I like. But that's, again, I think the questions you're asking me right there. Getting off a read, not hanging on it too long, get to number 2 and 3, right? Those are the type of things he's got to work on. I did see progress, but it's not quite where I want it to be, back to the point of why he didn't jump some of those other guys that are in front of him.
Chris, what's your concern about Drake Maye in the middle area, the middle throws? And this is something that Phil Perry has brought up a lot.
Yeah.
You said on your announcement of Drake's placement, I saw a lot of really deep throws that were excellent, and I saw a lot of really short throws. I need to see more intermediate.
Exactly right. That's where the meat and potatoes of football are, right? You can't make a living just going, we're going to throw a screen and we're going to throw a bomb. No, the Patriots are awesome forever. Why? Because Brady could hit Edelman for 10, Gronk for 12, right? Amendola for 12, Chris Hogan for 15. That's where you make your money. That's the meat and potatoes of an offense and all that. And that, again, goes into seeing the field, getting the body in the right position. I don't think he quite has maybe the confidence of Bo Nix or a Jaden Daniels or a Caleb Williams about fitting the ball into smaller, tighter windows in the middle of the field at times, right? And you see plays like that where you go, oh, no, wait, pull the trigger. And I get the sense of watching it going, he doesn't quite trust where the ball is going today. So he then opts to go, let me just throw the check down. I don't know if I really am confident that I can squeeze it in there and put it where I need to be. Some games that were good, but there's other games that I could go to, Titans, Chargers, which I watched recently, where I go, he didn't have it that day, because I always try to watch some good games and some bad games, and those were days where he turned down some open receivers because I don't think he had the confidence in the control of the football quite where he wanted it to be.
You know what I think he also is concerned about?
Yeah.
Does this SOB know where he's going?
Well, that could be too.
Is he going to stop or is he not going to stop? And you get, as you know, much better than me, having played at the highest levels. If you can't do that, you're going to.
Yeah, you're going to second guess yourself. You're right.
Is he going to, he's stopping? Okay, now I can let it go. And that's where I think Josh will make a big difference. Two final questions to me. The first is going to be, how great will the impact of Josh McDaniels be? And then secondarily, with that question, how much should Josh take advantage in specific designed runs of Drake Maye's athleticism?
Yeah, he'll have that. Josh has got everything. Josh is one of the greatest offensive minds I've ever been around, right? I spent the first 5 years of my career with John Gruden. I got with Josh McDaniels in year 7 of my career, and I learned things that John Gruden's known as an offensive genius, right? I learned things from Josh McDaniels that I never learned anywhere. Nuances of a play, how to run it, how it's supposed to be run against certain coverages. He's special that way. He's special in giving the quarterback simple clues to make the game easier about certain plays. So that's where it's phenomenal for the combination of Maye and McDaniels. I do think it's all positive. He'll have run game design things, but hey, listen, this is the franchise, and I don't think it's something you make it a consistent part of the offense. I think it's let's break it out just every now and then to keep people off of Ramondre Stevenson and our one awesome running play. Or if people are overplaying something, or it's a big 3rd and 1 and we're playing Buffalo late in the season and we need this moment right here. I think he'll be very picky and choosy about when he breaks it out for as far as the run game's concerned.
Just trying to do the math in my head. If he runs the ball 5 times a game for 17 games, that's like 95 carries. So if he averages 5 yards a carry on those. That's
Yeah.
close to 500 yards. Would you want Drake Maye to have more than 500 yards rushing for your offense in his second year in the league,
Right.
quarterbacking a team that's won 8 games in the previous 2 years? I would say I'm okay with it.
I don't have a problem with it. No, I'm with you there. I figure his scrambling ability, doing some of that, he's going to get some yards there. That's really impressive part of his football game. They add a little running to it. He is a young body, so you feel like, hey, he could take some hits and do stuff like that, certainly. But, yeah, hey, if Jaden Daniels, who we were all worried about getting broken in half,
Yes.
right, because he's so frail and skinny, he runs for almost 900 yards next year. Yeah, Drake Maye can run for 500 and still be okay. I'd be okay with that too.
Will J.J. McCarthy be the best quarterback to come out of the 2024 draft class? Confirm it for me.
No.
Yes, he will.
I'm not going to say
Yes, he
that
will.
yet. I really do like J.J. McCarthy, but damn, this is a special
really
class.
is.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, what he did, it might be the greatest rookie season ever on the heels of what we just saw from C.J. Stroud the year before that. I will be shocked if Caleb Williams doesn't interject himself in one of the better quarterbacks in football this year. There was a lot of big-time plays and wow plays that I'd go, man, there's only a few guys in football that can do what Caleb Williams did here. Consistency. And then, hey, Drew Brees Jr. out there in Denver, right? Bo Nix, damn, he played well too.
He did.
And he did it all. And those two had a lot on their shoulders from the get-go. So J.J. McCarthy, I'm expecting big things, but damn, I mean, this is a group where it's like there's no bad guy in the group right now. Penix, it all looked like on the up and up too at the end of the year. So we could be arguably talking about the greatest first-round draft of quarterbacks in the history of football. I mean, that's what it's looking like after 1 year. I know it's early, but damn, there wasn't many flaws in any of these guys.
I'm just really dug in on J.J. McCarthy, so I'm looking for anybody to jump in with me. I'm dug in.
I like him. I'm with it. I'm with you. You know, he fits that offense. He's the intermediate throws that you talked about with Drake Maye. That's something I would say he's better at. In Michigan, it was 20 and 15 and 12 and 20 and 15. He's great at that. In Minnesota, all they have is Justin Jefferson and Addison going across the middle, 15, 20, 25 yards. So I think that's why they stopped the Aaron Rodgers conversation. They went, let's go in with what we believe in this guy. That's why we traded up in the draft to get him in the top 10. And let's not ruin our organization all over just getting Aaron Rodgers for 1 year and sacrifice that for maybe 8-10 years with J.J. McCarthy and us being really damn good. And I think they're seeing some of the things you believe in.
What a massive boon for the NFL to grab 6 franchise quarterbacks in the first round, none of whom seem like absolute stiffs, to bring you through the second half of this decade. You do a better job than anyone breaking this stuff down, Chris, and the time you put into it is appreciated.
Well, I appreciate that. And hey, one more thing off that point there. Like, yeah, I go crazy when I hear there's a quarterback problem in the NFL. I want to go, bull crap. There's an offensive coordinator problem. That I could tell you. I mean, we got guys every year we see like, wait, he wasn't that good there, and now he's here running this offense. Wait, he's not that good there 3 years ago, and now he's running an offense again. That's the problem. We're watching a top 4 quarterbacks in the game right now, right? Like, spoiler alert, the top 4 guys are Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow, and Josh Allen for my rankings. Not in that particular order, but the top 4, I would put that top 4 up there as good as any 4 in the league at the same time ever in the history of football. I know they all need some more hardware to make everybody feel comfortable, but Mahomes, Lamar, Jackson, Josh Allen, and Burrow are all-time greats. They are a Hall of Fame talents, Hall of Fame players. They just need the hardware to make, Jimmy from Boston happy about them being a Hall of Famer one day. But their talent and way they play on a week-to-week basis is out of this world good. It rivals the Brady, Manning, Brett Favre era, Drew Brees, all those kind of guys. That's how special they are. So NFL's in a good spot right now. You're right.
All right. Good man. Chris, thank you so much. Have an unbelievable weekend and a great summer. Talk to you soon, buddy.
I'll talk to you soon. See you, buddy.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed Chris Simms. Bring in Phil Perry now. Phil and Chris are both blabbermouths, so we couldn't have had them on at the same time. But Phil is up on the Chris Simms rankings. And I personally do think it's fair to put Drake Maye in the need to see more bin, along with Michael Penix. And I don't think the mystery dance with Bryce Young and JJ McCarthy is fair, but I get it. You can't put them up there. But Caleb Williams and Bo Nix are the guys who are up at the top. They are ready to launch. Should Drake Maye have been ready to launch?
I'm not sure how you could have Penix, who played in 3 games, in the same category as Maye, who played in so many more. There's just more evidence. No matter how you think of him, Penix to me is truly like 3 games that's a preseason. It's not much. Versus, and I know Maye didn't even get a full season under his belt, but he got more than half a full season under his belt. So I just would say,
but there were some games where Maye looked really good, and there were some games where you're like, that's stupid.
No doubt.
I would need more info.
No doubt. But can't you say the same about Caleb Williams?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Caleb Williams is a disaster.
I would bounce again. It's his list, not mine.
Right.
So we have to defer to his opinion and not say, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. It's his preference.
No.
I think I would have thrown mystery meat down Michael Penix in that group. And I probably would have had Williams and Maye in the same group. And honestly, I would have kept Nix in ready to launch because of his coaching, because of the continuity, because of the fact that he took a team to the playoffs, because of his efficiency. He is more polished, perhaps, than friggin' Daniels. Stop, Tom. Forget about that. He's more polished than every quarterback in terms of accomplishment, except for Jaden Daniels from last year's class.
I'm with you. I would have Williams and Maye closer, and I would have Penix in the TBD. And I don't know on Penix, and maybe he's even factoring in some of Penix's collegiate work into these evaluations. Again, it's his list. It's what he's seen, and he obviously studies all these guys as they're coming into college as well. But, if it's just based on last year, Penix, I'm looking at it now. Penix had 114 dropbacks last year. Drake Maye had 422. I just feel like you should have a more fully formed. It doesn't have to be fully formed for the rest of his career, fully formed. But Drake Maye had 422 dropbacks, and I'm just looking at some other quarterbacks here who played full seasons. Jalen Hurts had 556. So, it's just, to me, I know what he's saying on Maye because he's young, because the situation was so much different last year versus this year, weapons, coaching, etc. But I do think it's okay to stick your neck out there a little bit more on Maye versus Penix.
Phil's a big neck sticker when it does come to Maye. I'm a little bit more reticent because I do see a jambalaya of results from him. And I do, as you just heard me mention to Chris, it's not irrelevant that his team frequently leaves the field with fewer points than their opponent. It's you can't ignore that.
It's not irrelevant.
Chris did a good job pointing out, John Elway was 3-7. Pat Mahomes was 4-7 in their final years in college. They're pretty good. So digest that. I hope you enjoyed it. Chris was terrific. Let's move on to somebody else with something to prove. We're going to talk about 2 guys who have something to prove, similar to Drake Maye, but more profoundly. That is Jalen Polk and Cole Strange. We had an opportunity at OTAs the other day to get the skinny on both of them. Let's start with Jalen Polk, and this is wide receivers coach Todd Downing talking to me, and you can hear the question I posed, and if it's muffled and sounds shitty, here's what I said. In essence, how come Jalen Polk always looks really good on the side and in practice, explosive, catches everything, and looks like he should be a good player, and then when he got on the field, he stunk? Here's Todd Downing on that dynamic.
So, as far as last year's concerned, I wasn't a part of last year, so I'll leave last year to people who were here. I can tell you that I evaluated him coming out in the draft, and I liked a lot of the attributes that I saw on the Washington tape. I certainly am excited to see him do more and more as he continues to progress in his rehab, and he's been great to work with, and I've really enjoyed getting to know him as a person, finding out what makes him tick, and try to help him unlock some of those tools that I know he has.
He looks like a really good player.
He's got a lot of great attributes. Yep, absolutely. Yep, we just got to unlock them and find some consistency. Yep.
Phil, I keep doing it, man. Whether it's Tyquan Thornton, and I just continue to cling to the catch that he made in 2022 over his shoulder that Jalen Mills applauded. I'll remember that more than I'll remember James White touchdown in 2016 in the Super Bowl. And I'm doing it again. I can feel it with Jalen Polk. I glanced over the other day because he was taking extra work after practice, throws from, I don't know, probably May, one of the quarterbacks, and he just reached out and just palmed a ball. And he's not one of those big guys. I said, he's good. He's a good player. Do you think Jalen Polk will be good?
I don't right now. He's got to prove to me otherwise. I do not. I'm not sure he's gonna be worthy of a roster spot, to be totally candid with you. I
thank you for your honesty.
The reason he could be good is because he has short hands, because he could play all three positions in a Josh McDaniels offense. He has that kind of versatility. He has that kind of football IQ. These are the reasons why he was drafted in the second round. He was tough physically and mentally, they thought. And then, Tom, it turned out he basically did none of those things last year. Not a one. I don't know which one of those boxes we can check. And you notice, I didn't say he was fast or explosive or amazingly athletic at the catch point. I'm not sure with that bucket of tools how you make it. And I'm with you. There were times in practice last year where he looked good. And there are times, even looking back at last season, this catch didn't even count. But it was one of the more eye-opening catches of the year. If you remember, it was in San Francisco, so maybe week 3 or 4. It was relatively early in the season. And he's down the sideline between two defenders, and he gets croaked, and he still brings it in. And I personally thought it was a catch, and they ruled it incomplete. But outside of that moment, I'm just not sure what there was for us to point to say, oh, I've seen him against good competition and I've seen the flash. And as long as he can grasp onto that and make it more consistent, they will have a good player. I just don't have that evidence right now.
Do you think he can be as good as Malcolm Mitchell? I'm not saying a Super Bowl hero, but I look at Malcolm Mitchell and I say, okay, maybe he would have been a terrific player and caught 75 balls a year for an ongoing period and been Jacoby Myers, but I just, he's going to be available over the middle. He should be able to catch the ball because he wasn't a drop maven at Washington. So he is in a position to have a really good year, Phil. I think that Jalen Polk, I'm not predicting he will, but if there's one player, actually there's two, I'm going to talk about the other one. I think there's two players who can really surprise people this year. And it's Polk and Cole Strange. I could see Polk having 45 to 55 catches.
Wow. I mean, that would be huge for them, even if he's their third leading receiver, if that's what those numbers end up translating to. And the Mitchell comp I get, because, size-wise, they're pretty similar. Polk's a little bigger. I think Mitchell was 6 feet, right around 200, and Polk is 6'1", right around 200. So, and neither guy's really a burner. Right. That Mitchell was kind of the scouting report on Mitchell was pretty similar. And part of that was due in part to injury. So his physical capabilities were a little bit limited based on his knee, but sure-handed, was going to be in the right place, going to be a hard worker, mentally tough, good locker room guy, all that sort of stuff. I wonder if he's catching, Tom, 45 to 55 balls. That means there's somebody else in that receiver room who is not doing much of anything.
Yeah, that's only Bourne.
So maybe if Bourne's gone and he ends up filling the Bourne role from 2021, maybe that is what ends up happening.
And I'm not wishing the guy away by any stretch of the imagination, nor do I think the Patriots are. But realistically speaking, a team from the time you enter the league, they're looking to replace you once you've hit your prime. After year 4, they're looking to replace you. You're going to get expensive. You're going to get older. They want to rejuvenate the position. They have draft capital invested in somebody, and they want that to work out. So I think that whether it be Efton Chisholm or Jalen Polk or Kyle Williams, if I look at one player who we presume is pretty good and who does play well in Josh's offense, and the team is not right now looking for a reason to move on from, but I think Kendrick Bourne would be the most reasonable place you'd look and say, he's going to become expendable if any of these guys show up, because Baker is in a box off to his until he extracts himself from the box and pops his head out of it and starts walking out of the box back to the group. He stays in the box. Fair?
Fair. And I'm just looking at I'm looking at Bourne's stats right now, and you kind of like you hit it on the head, and it almost makes it harder for me to envision this from Polk. But in 2021, Kendrick Bourne, who I thought had a pretty good year that year, 55 catches.
800 yards.
800 yards. But that's kind of what that's right around the range you're projecting for Polk in year 2. And that just feels like a lot. New offense. He's obviously limited.
I'm going to go further. Do you know that Dingbat, and I love him, Bourne, he caught 70 of the 55 passes thrown to him as a wide receiver. I think that
Max, it's hard to catch 70 of 55. He caught 55.
No, he was unbelievable. There was shit that he was catching that was not even thrown to him, and they would credit. But I think that Mac had 126 passer ratings throwing to Kendrick Bourne. So he can be a quarterback's best friend in the Josh McDaniels offense, but they're going to want the second round pick, who's a hell of a lot cheaper, to work. But damn.
Do you think so? That's my question. That's a question that I have. McDaniels has no ties to this guy.
No.
Vrabel has no ties to this guy. So, I mean, Elliot Wolf probably would love for him to work out. But does that matter, big picture, for the organization right now, the same way it would for McDaniels or for Vrabel? I really do wonder about that.
That's really, well, it's interesting because, you could see him walking off the field after a practice and just saying, boy, Jalen had a good practice. Did he, though? Did he?
That's the Wolf and Vrabel
That's
conversation.
The Wolf Vrabel exchange. No, I liked it. I thought he was great.
You're making Elliot Wolf sound like Tim Kirkjian.
All right. Enough on Jalen Polk. I do think he can be a player who captures the hearts of New England in a way that nobody since David Ortiz has. On now to Cole Strange. And this song, hey, this son bitch, he can play football. All right? He can play some football. He's been a player who, not by his own choosing, was taken in the first round to guffaws around other teams' draft rooms. And he didn't have a bad rookie year in 2022. But he was a smallish fella. And it was an erratic offense led by Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, and no offensive line coach really to speak of. So 2023, he's working on a torn patella tendon that he suffered in 2022. Hard to do that. Wasn't very good. 2023, he got the thing fixed. He came back eventually. Came back, he said, even though he could have blown off the last, was it the final game or the final 2 or 3 games, Phil?
When he got hurt?
No, when he came back last year. I mean, he could have punched out on the year. Regardless, came back very late, played because he wanted to play. He's like, I need to see if I can do this. So was out there again. Now you got a guy who's in his 4th year. First, let's listen to Cole Strange talk about how different this year is to, knock on wood, be healthy for the first time since his rookie year.
Honestly, it feels really good. It feels awesome to just be healthy for OTAs and just be able to be out here and work on it, you know what I mean? This time last year, I was just learning how to walk. So I felt very blessed.
And then because Cole Strange is a good guy, I don't feel uncomfortable asking him a question that is obvious to everybody. You were a first-round pick. You've been in the league for 3 years. At this point, people are saying that, boy, that pick didn't work out. And that's being kind about it. What's your reaction to that? Here's Cole Strange on that. Hey, let's use the word dynamic again. Dynamic.
I would say the truth is, just like I was just saying, all I can really do is control what I can control. Pray to God I don't have any more injuries. And, as long as that takes care of itself, I'll handle what I can handle. I'm not really worried about anybody's opinion.
Phil, I think Cole Strange can capture the hearts and minds of New England the way no player has done since Joe Andruzzi. How's that?
I thought you were going to say since Jalen Polk. He would capture their hearts and minds if he was able to step into that left guard spot, which he has played for the most part in his young career, and give them starting caliber performance. That's the one job.
Do you think he can do that? Do you think he stinks? Do you think he's a bust? Do you think he's horrible? I think he is, so far, when he plays, an average player. Agree or disagree?
I would agree with that. Now the numbers and people who watch offensive line probably closer than you or I might say something a little bit differently, but I just look at he is somebody who was, let's look back at that draft when it was, and when that pick happened. He was not presumed to be a first round pick by most, but he was presumed to be a day 2 pick by many, even coming out of UT Chattanooga. And if you play on the interior offensive line and you're a day 2 pick, you should be a long-time starter, quite frankly, right? If you're a first-round pick on the interior line, you should be like a borderline all-pro, which he certainly has not been. But that's the level of talent that he had that I think most teams saw. And so I think that's, now he's dealt with injury, and so maybe you reduce your expectations even a little bit further, but that doesn't mean he can't reclaim that form as being a starting caliber player. We'll see what his long-term health ends up being, Tom, but I think he's athletic enough and he's strong enough and he's smart enough to start at guard. I do. And the question is now, again, durability, where is that? And do they just have anybody else that's any better? And to me right now, there is no other clear-cut better option unless somebody like Jared Wilson, who I know you and I both like as a future center for the team, ends up participating in practice, which he really has not in the OTAs we've been out there for, and ends up being able to play guard at a pretty high level.
Just interesting because when you mentioned the UT Chattanooga, and just in 2020, they took a kid from Lenore Rhine with their first overall pick. In 2022, they took a kid from UT Chattanooga with their first pick. It's just... And you wonder why there's 8 wins and 26 losses over the last 2 years. And it's not their fault. They're not horrible players. Kyle Duggar is a relevant player. He was a menace in 2022. And if you don't have a first-round pick and you get a guy who can be a menace at the safety position for a year, that's fine. Be that as it may. Just a bird.
Eagles are doing pretty well drafting guys in Georgia in the first round every year.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that you can't find. There are great players who we know. They're unbelievable players who have come from small schools. It's just those are generally speaking the outliers.
Joe
right?
Green, for instance, Phil. I'm not going back that far. I just know he came out of like Texas State, something like that. All right, you know what? Just suck on that whole strange conversation, everybody. And I mean that in a nice way. Digest it.
Yeah, that was aggressive.
Digest it, because I don't think he's totally. Look, I'm not done with either of those cats. People like to say cats. Guys who are not the kind of people who would be saying cats will say cats, like the jazz musicians with the little. What's that called? That little.
The soul patch? You call that the soul patch?
No, it's not even a soul patch. There's a name for it. There's a name for that little pointy thing that jazz guys used to have. All right, we've gone too friggin' far. Phil, thanks for jumping on. Thank you to Chris Simms. Thank you to everybody out there joining us on a Thursday when it's about 90. I'm probably going to just hang around inside for the rest of the day and just look outside and wonder what it's like out. Not going out. Phil, I know. You should go upstairs and check on Maddie, and we'll see you later on.
All right, I'm going to find out the name of that beer. And you were right, North Texas State for Mean Joe Green. Nice job by you.
Thank you.
Nice job. Okay.
Yeah, people were outraged when he was drafted in Pittsburgh. What is that friggin'? It's called the Van Dyke.
Look at you. You're on fire.